this is part 4 of the lecture on Chapter 45, and this will be really short, finishing up. But we left off with this slide here on how the thyroid feedback loop or thyroid hormone feedback loop works. So this is, again, a really nice example of how a cascade of hormone action can occur. So we get a stimulus, which is a sensory neuron noticing that there's a thyroid hormone drop in terms of levels in the bloodstream. So that acts as a stimulus to the hypothalamus, which then will secrete TRH into the blood, which will go to the pituitary gland. So the hypothalamus sends out a releasing hormone or a neurohormone from a neurosecretory cell to tell the anterior pituitary to release TSH. Now TSH is a thyroid stimulating hormone, so its target is going to be the thyroid gland, as we see here. So as a hormone, again, it's going to circulate throughout the body via the circulatory system. And when it reaches the thyroid gland and the cells within it, TSH will stimulate these endocrine cells to secrete thyroid hormones. And there are actually two different thyroid hormones. There's T3 and T4, and the difference between them is T3 has 3 iodine atoms and T4 has 4. T4 is thyroxine and T3 is triiodothyronine. So these two work together as thyroid hormones and do a number of things throughout the body. These also serve, this is the response, first of all, that we want to get in order to get the body's blood levels of thyroid hormone back to homeostasis. But these hormones also serve as negative feedback in order to turn off the system. And they can actually target both the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. So they act in two different ways to signal the body that there is no longer a problem, so that they actually will block the secretion of TSH into the bloodstream. There are a lot of disorders with the thyroid, and a few of them you can either have too much or too little thyroid hormone. If you have too little, it's called hypothyroidism. That for some reason, a number of different reasons, the thyroid is not responding and producing enough thyroid hormone. And some of the symptoms of hypothyroidism are things like weight gain or being really tired, not being able to tolerate cold. You can also have the opposite condition. You can have hyperthyroidism, which means you have too much thyroid hormone in the blood. And this causes things, kind of an amped up feeling in the body with high temperature, sweating, high blood pressure, rapid heart rate. You can have weight loss, irritability. So both of these are when the body is not able to maintain homeostasis in terms of thyroid levels. Graves' disease is a form of hyperthyroidism that's actually an autoimmune disease. So this is when we get the, again, overlap of these different body systems we've been studying. So we have the immune system failing to recognize the thyroid gland as self, and so it attacks it and causes there to be too much production of thyroid hormone. Also, malnutrition can alter thyroid's functioning. And finally, the last disorder that we can have, oops, that's one slide too many, is the production of a goiter. So as you saw, T3 and T4, the two thyroid hormones, are defined by how many iodine molecules are attached to them. So when there's an iodine deficiency, it actually causes the thyroid to enlarge because it's trying to produce thyroxine, which it cannot do because it doesn't have enough iodine. So it keeps getting larger and larger, and this is a terribly extreme case of a thyroid gland that has swelled in an effort to try and produce enough thyroid hormone. So you can see here in this feedback loop, what's happening here is the thyroid gland keeps getting the message to produce thyroxine, but it can't do it, so there's no negative feedback to turn this system off, which is why we keep getting the growth of the thyroid gland. And then this last slide is just the chapter, or actually the section of 45.2 mentions the idea of homology among hormones. And what that is referring to is how in evolution there is a common trait that is found among different species, which indicates the possibility of common ancestry. So homology means that there's going to be either similar function or similar structure in something between different species. So in the case of hormones, we do see that we can have the same hormone have different effects, or we can have the same effect actually with different hormones. But in the example they're showing you here is prolactin can have very different effects depending on which species it's acting in. So in mammals, it produces milk. In birds, it metabolizes fat. In fish, it has to do with their osmolarity and the balance of salt and water within the fish. And in amphibians, it actually will take a big part of metamorphosis and maturation. So it has to do with the disappearance of the tadpole's tail and also the maturation and development of the actual frog. So these are just some examples, and we'll learn a lot more about this when we get into the evolution chapters. But that is it for now. This is the final picture. Here is an example of this man here who grew to be 8 feet 11 inches. He had a very short lifespan, but he actually had a condition called gigantism, which was a result of too much growth hormone. So when we have these homeostasis or homeostatic systems not working well, we get disorders that can make things go crazy. And in this case, this person with gigantism had his growth hormone continue until he got to 8 feet 11. But as you can see, it has other repercussions like a shortened lifespan. So that's it for now. You can always do a lot more studying on any of these systems. As you are aware, they're going to be a lot more complicated than what I've gone into. And I hesitated at times here in this lecture to decide on how in-depth to go. But I'm trying again to put this at the level that we feel that you're going to need it. And if you do have questions, you can do a little bit of research on your own, or you can ask in class. And again, the source of these slides is the Kim Foglia's biology set of PowerPoints, and also the Pearson textbook publisher has produced a lot of the slides that were used in this.